Counting in hundredths is generally something children are introduced to in Year 4. What we're looking at here, something your child might be familiar with. Some schools use what's called Dean's apparatus that looks a little bit like this, where we're working with hundreds, tens and ones. This blue block has been divided into 100 smaller blocks. Each time we fill in one of these blocks, we're filling in 1/100th of the big blue block. So when we divide something by 100, each one of those pieces is 1/100th of that whole piece. If we fill a whole row, we've got 10 out of 100, 10 hundredths. And we fill the whole thing, we have 100 hundredths, which is equivalent to 1. 100 lots of 100ths equals 1. Each row of this block is 1/10th of the whole thing. There are 10 hundredths in each row, and that's equivalent to 1/10th, because we need 10 of those rows to fill the whole thing. 1/10th of 100 is 10, and 10 hundredths is the same as 1/10th. Sometimes decimals can seem a little abstract. Using money is a handy way, a real life way of getting children and adults to picture what's actually going on with the numbers. 100 lots of 1 pence is a pound, and those 100 1 pences are the same as 10 10 pences, and it's really good here to start linking hundredths and tenths, because this is really important for understanding decimals when you get there. 10 lots of 10p is a pound, so 10 lots of 10 pence is the same as 100 lots of 1 pence. And if you have 100 lots of 100ths, you have a whole one. And if you have 10 lots of tenths, you have a whole one. Just to reinforce that point, looking at the hundredths column, so this is getting more into what decimals are. If we have 9 1 pences and we add another 1 pence, that takes us to 10 pence. If we do the same with the 10 pences, so if we have 9 10 pences, which is 90 pence, and we add another 10 pence, that's equivalent to 1 pound. It's important to relate tenths to division. 1 pound divided by 100 is 1 pence, because there are 100 1 pences in a pound. 1 pound divided by 10 is 10 pence, because there are 10 10 pences in 1 pound. So you can see how fractions and division link. 1/100th of 1 pound is 1p. So 1/100th of something is the same as dividing it by 100. 1/10th of 1 pound is 10p. So finding 1/10th is the same as dividing by 10. And it's also worth remembering that 10 pence divided by 10 is 1 pence. So 1/10th of 10 pence is 1 pence. It's not just money where we use hundredths in real life, we also use hundredths in some of our measures. For example, a metre has 100 centimetres in it. So if you imagine that this is 1 metre stick, that arrow moves across 100 little divisions to make 1 metre, which is 100 centimetres. 100 centimetres is 1 metre. Counting in hundredths is connected to counting in tenths. So looking again at this metre stick, if we count in tens, 10, 20, 30, up to 100, there are 10 tenths in there. So if we have 10 centimetres and we times that by 10, we have 1 metre. And remembering to link this to division, 100 centimetres divided by 100 is 1 centimetre. 1 metre divided by 100 is 1 centimetre. This is all a really useful introduction to when your child has to start learning about the equivalence between some fractions and decimals and converting one to the other.